welcome to SVG-TV News for Friday, March 26, 2021. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Over the past few hours, the seismic events coming from the Lasso Freire volcano have slowed down. So says lead scientist monitoring the volcano, Dr. Richard Robertson, who told SVG-TV News via a telephone interview this evening that residents in the danger zones must, however, not drop their guard.
Since about midnight last night, these events have slowed down. We're not having too much of them anymore. And we've returned to currently a period where we're having mainly the surface kind of events. Now, in saying that, it doesn't mean that the eruption is ended, or it doesn't mean that there's any less danger from the volcano. It just means that we started a new pattern of activity. It's slowed down and stopped for a time being. We would expect it could pick back up again, and it should keep going as it picks back up. What people need to bear in mind as we try to deal with what's happening is that we have an ongoing eruption, and in an ongoing eruption, things can change. Things can change over a period of time. They can change over a short period as well as a long period of time. And it's necessary for us always to be prepared to respond as quickly as we can to these changes.
Dr. Robinson said the lava dome can no longer be considered a dome as the shape has changed and it is now more like a lava flow. He said that the volcano earthquakes reminded people that SVG has an active volcano which in the worst case can explosively erupt.
One of the things that I found certainly when I came back last time on Ireland is that what I found is that people had gotten very much accustomed to the fact that you had effusive activity going on, that the danger was mainly confined to the summit area. And there was a certain amount of complacency that was being built up, that we were getting very comfortable, just kind of what you expect given what was happening. And what the earthquakes did is shook us up a little bit and made us realize, wait, this is really erupting. And in case we didn't think that it was erupting, it is. And this could potentially do other things. And that's perhaps a good thing because it meant that our state of preparedness, our heightened state of alert has been there. I'm just saying that it may happen again, that it may go into a position where it suggests that something is about to happen, as well as it may quieten down for a little bit. It's not ended yet, and it's still ongoing. So people need to, I think from the beginning, we've seen that people need to sort of be prepared that this may go on for a little bit.
The lead monitoring scientist said he and his team would like to have more measurements and samples taken given the seismic changes, but this could only happen if the seismic events remain less active and if weather conditions are suitable.
Mainly activity has to do with dome growth. If we have that, certainly we'll go up before the end of next week and try to take some measurements that would allow us, take some photographs that would allow us to determine how much change has happened since. Because of what happened in the last couple of days, we'll certainly be interested in knowing, has this resulted in changes in the rate of growth? So we would definitely want to take some more measurements. If that fails, then we'd want to get some satellite. We've been working with collaborators overseas to get satellite images that allow us to get some measurements of how it's changing. So we'd hope to also get that and use that.
The alert level remains at orange, and the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, is reminding the public that no evacuation order or notice has been issued and is encouraging residents, especially persons living in communities close to the volcano, to heighten their preparedness in the event that it becomes necessary to evacuate at short notice. NEMO also continues to appeal to the public to desist from visiting the volcano, especially going into the crater, since doing so is extremely dangerous. The Disaster Emergency Management Organization said it will continue to provide regular updates on all activities taking place at Lasso Freire. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has made a further appeal for more intentions to take the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, which is being administered here, especially those in the red zone communities of Lasso Freire. calling in on WFM yesterday from the USA, where he has been for the past few days, giving support to his wife Eloise, who is expected to undergo back surgery. PM Gonzalez said that in an event there is an explosive eruption of the volcano, the vaccine could become a lifesaver for many who go into shelters.
It is in your interest, and particularly so in the cases of those who, if the volcano erupts violently, you need, in your moving, you're going to come in touch with a lot of people, and and I repeat, in the shelters. So you got to take the vaccine. It will help to protect you.
PM Gonzalez said that he is not forcing anyone to take the vaccine, but is strongly advising them to do so.
Nobody is compelling you to. There is no coercion. There's no compulsion. But I am personally urging you very strongly to take the vaccine. And when persons I know some persons say, well, I waiting to see if we could get more Sputnik. The one that Ralph take, I could take it. The Sputnik is safe, the AstraZeneca is safe, and the AstraZeneca is a good vaccine.
The Prime Minister noted the difficulty of sourcing COVID-19 vaccines, pointing out that India and Europe have not put a ban on export of vaccines for the time being, and Vincentians have to take advantage of the opportunity to get vaccinated.
When some people decide to make up their mind to take it, there may be no vaccine. As you notice that India, it has now been announced that India is banning the export of the vaccine, AstraZeneca, the Covishield, for at least during the month now down to the end of April.
Okay.
Because they have that by their own demanding every vaccine here in the Caribbean. We as CARICOM trying to get, but they come from the same source of the producers.
Yes.
And if they're not selling, you have difficulty getting.
Amidst the fears about taking the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, which has resulted in a slow uptake of the jab being administered here in SVG, infectious disease specialist Dr. Josie Davy said Vincentians generally take vaccines, noting that approximately 95 to 99% of Vincentians have been vaccinated over the course of their life. Hence, she doesn't understand their reservation now. Speaking on NBC Radio today, Dr. Davies said while Vincentians are apprehensive about taking the COVID-19 vaccine, the vector mechanism used to create the AstraZeneca vaccine has been used to make other vaccines which have been taken by many Vincentians over the years.
The AstraZeneca vaccine is using an old method, which is the viral vector. Just to break that down a little bit, we're using a virus that's dead, and you're adding some of the SARS-CoV-2. You're adding a little protein from it to the adenovirus, and the adenovirus has the ability to take this information to your cells so that your body can now take this information and make antibodies. So nothing is entering the nucleus of the cell, nothing is altering your DNA. And as I said, the adenoviral vector mechanism has been used time and time again. And almost everybody listening to the sound of my voice would have had some adenoviral vaccine in their life if they were ever vaccinated. And judging from our vaccination rates across the board, we run between a 95 to a 99% vaccination rate.
The infectious disease specialist added that while countries such as South Africa have suspended the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine, it is mainly because it does not work as effectively against the variants found there, noting that the jury is still out on how long the vaccine may protect persons from COVID.
So in the case of South Africa, It's not that they have stopped it, they have suspended it. Because what they found is that it's not working for their mutated virus. But there are other vaccines that they're using in their population to counteract this. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it is true that we would not have all of the answers as yet. So it's not as anyone is hiding the information from person. The information is there. There are other countries, for example, who use AstraZeneca, and for their variant, it works very well. For us, we don't have any mutated virus here because we've sent our samples on to CAFA, and we don't have the mutated virus. So we expect that the AstraZeneca will work well for our population.
Dr. Davies said persons should visit credible websites, including the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, the World Health Organization, and trusted medical journals such as the New England Journal of Medicine to get accurate information regarding COVID-19 vaccines so that they can make an informed decision. And earlier today, nurses from the Belair Health Center were at the Joshua Center in Annisville to provide vaccinations to persons in the surrounding communities. The temporary vaccination center opened at 9 a.m. and saw a slow turnout during the morning hours. Staff nurse Judisha Stevens, who was on hand to administer the vaccines, says social media is playing a big role in the decline of persons coming forward to get vaccinated.
Because of what is going on the social media now, we have slowed down with vaccination. But before, when the vaccination has started, it was much faster, right? In our clinic, we already had given over 100 persons a vaccine. This is our area also, Annisville, we cover here, and we're trying to get to the rest of the community so we could get everything back on track, yeah? We need our normal lives to be better, that we won't have to be in the mask all the time, you know, and get back to at least some normalcy.
Nurse Stevens and her team were hoping to vaccinate approximately 100 persons over the course of the day. At the time of our interview, just over 20 persons had been vaccinated. Speaking on the importance of the vaccine, Nurse Stevens says Vincentians should not be afraid to take the jab, as the manufacturers of the AstraZeneca vaccine being administered here in SVG are the same manufacturers of the other vaccines being given to children without hesitancy from most parents.
Everything that comes out, new persons will have some negative, some positive. What I want to say to the Vincentian public is that they don't need to be scared of the vaccines, because the vaccine that we use for those children that normally comes to the clinic, it's the same Institute of India who has made this vaccine. So I believe they're more capable of producing a vaccine for this virus, because they have studied different viruses in the past, right? And it is not the first coronavirus that they are seeing, right? We have influenza virus. They also made vaccines for influenza virus. So they have research viruses already, and technology too have increased and improved, so they would be able to make a vaccine fast enough to get anything under control.
Our news team spoke with one gentleman who was taking his second jab. He shared his reasons for being vaccinated and some words of encouragement for those still contemplating the decision.
Well, primarily, I've got to travel in a month, and so, you know, I got the first one, no complications. So I said, well, we got to get the second one, and I kind of wanted to get it over with. I mean, it's been a year of should we do it, should we not do it? We got to do it, and if we want to travel, if we want to, you know, get back to some normalcy in life, I think we got to do it, you know. My friend's, who's a bit older than I, and he got it, and then my neighbors got it, and I was like, well, they're fine, so what do I have to worry about? And I mean, you know, people are apprehensive naturally because it's something new, but, you know, like all things in life, you got to try. You know, I've been here for almost 6 years now, and so this is kind of my life, my family, my friends, and so I want us to get back to being able to do the things we used to do. This helps us to do that.
The national vaccination drive continues across the length and breadth of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Community outreaches are ongoing as the government aims to meet its target of vaccinating 70% of adult Vincentians. Thus far, over 10,000 Vincentians have taken the jab. SVG on Monday, March 22nd, 2021, recorded its 10th COVID-19 death, that of a 25-year-old male from the North Windward community of Owea. PCR tests were conducted on everyone in his household, and all the results reportedly returned positive. The 9 family members are now in quarantine, and concerns have been raised about their well-being. Larissa Pugsley-Kidd tells us more in this report.
9 family members of Lorenza Batiste, who died from COVID-19 pneumonia on Monday, March 22nd, are now in 14 days quarantine after testing positive for the viral illness. Those who tested positive include a student and 2 elderly persons considered at high risk. SVG-TV News understand that none of the family members have any symptoms of COVID-19 and are still puzzled how it was contracted. Some residents are not pleased with the way in which they say the health authorities dealt with the family. With all members of the household now in quarantine, neighbors are assisting them with food and groceries. However, while they say they do not have a problem doing so, they say the authorities should step in and provide them with some form of assistance during this time in quarantine.
Hoping that the authorities can do something, and if they can help them out with something, because they are not rich, I should say, they are just simple, poor people like myself. So they need some sort of help or some sort of support, and I wish they can help them in that way.
The main concern is for the 2 elderly persons, one of whom is a farmer and the head of the household, who has left his farm unattended as well as his livestock.
People just get frustrated, especially the grandfather, because he will go to the mountain every day. From 4 o'clock in the morning, he gets up and he goes to the mountain to look after his animals and the farm. Every day, Sunday to Sunday, you won't believe that. He's in the mountain. So I know he will get a little bit frustrated, having to be at home there now.
Still questioning the death of their loved one due to COVID-19, relatives continue to ask why his mother was denied a COVID-19 test when she took him to the Georgetown Medical Complex and requested one after being informed that her son tested positive for the viral illness. In a telephone interview with us after her son's passing, the grieving mother said that knowing her status, she had to use public transportation to get back home, which was quite worrying, and that 2 days later, she and family got tested. The concern now is with the threat of Lasso-free Volcano should an evacuation order be issued, what arrangements are in place for the family in quarantine and others in the area who might be COVID-19 positive.
Because they said that they are tested positive, they are worried about transportation problem. If they would be transported with those who are not positive and where they will go, that's their concern.
For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
And St. Vincent and the Grenadines recorded 6 new positive cases of COVID-19 from 348 samples collected on Wednesday, March 24th, 2021, giving a positivity rate of 1.7%. 42 new recoveries were reported, bringing the number of total recoveries to 1,577. 134 cases remain active, and 10 persons with COVID-19 have died. 1,721 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The public is being urged to continue to use masks, sanitize, physically distance, and get vaccinated to reduce the spread of COVID-19 here in SVG. In other news, Tuberculosis or TB Day was celebrated this year under the theme "The Clock is Ticking." March 24th commemorates one of the world's deadliest infectious disease killers, and health professionals and others use the occasion to raise public awareness about TB. In a telephone interview with SVGTV News, infectious disease specialist Dr. Josie Davey outlined the significance of World TB Day and detailed what the disease is and how it spreads.
So World TB Day is celebrated every March 24th. and that happened to me yesterday. And it's under the theme, the clock is ticking. And the reason why tuberculosis gets so much attention, I don't know if much persons know, that in every year it kills over 1 million people worldwide. In 2019, there were 1.4 million deaths from tuberculosis. So what is TB? Tuberculosis is a bacterial disease caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, this bacteria, and it's transmitted when someone who has active pulmonary tuberculosis, if they talk, laugh, cough, and the persons who are susceptible are around them, they are capable of acquiring the disease.
Dr. Davies says a person becomes infected with the bacteria which cause TB and can later pass it on to others.
Not everyone who is exposed to tuberculosis will develop tuberculosis. Some persons would have what we call latent tuberculosis. And latent tuberculosis is when you do not have active disease, you have no signs or symptoms, and the bacteria is just lying there in your lung but not causing any trouble. 1/3 of the world's population has latent tuberculosis. Only 10% of those persons would go on to have an active disease. The Mycobacterium has been around for eons, so it keeps passing from person to person. Because it takes a very long time for persons to develop active tuberculosis, you would never know.
At-risk groups include diabetics, persons with cancer or on cancer treatments, alcoholics, the homeless, those in boarding homes and crowded areas, such as persons are in close contact with each other. Persons living with someone who has TB are also at risk. There are also several social and economic impacts of tuberculosis or TB and measures that can be taken to lower transmission.
Because this is a public health measure, which means that persons would not have to pay anything at all for their treatment. But the cost is all on someone, which is government, which equals taxpaying dollars. So, and then you're looking at not being able to work for a bit, because when you have tuberculosis, there's a period of time to be in isolation for the first 2 weeks of treatment. And TB is heavily stigmatized, so even some of the employers, when they hear that their employee has TB, so they don't want to rehire them or they don't want them to come back to work. They get very scared that persons would still be able to transmit the disease. But the reality is that after the first 2 to 4 weeks of treatment, you are not capable of spreading the disease.
According to the World Health Organization, the WHO, over 4,000 people lose their lives to TB daily, while another 28,000 fall ill from the preventable and curable disease. Refurbishment of Calico Anakin School completed. This and other stories coming up when we return with more local news. Stay with us. The refurbishment of the Calico Anglican School has been completed and the keys were handed over to the Ministry of Education and the principal of the school. The refurbishment of the Calico Anglican School was one of several school projects funded through the CDB Program Basic Needs Trust Fund in 2019. Speaking at the handing over ceremony, Minister of Finance and Area Representative Camila Gonzalez described the refurbished school as a first-class educational facility and a first-class facility as a hurricane shelter and disaster relief.
Before, Calico Anglican School was essentially a one-story building. They've extended it. They've added 4 lovely large classrooms at the top. The bottom here with the kindergarten and the lower grades was just one long hall separated by blackboards. Now they have accordion separators separating the classes so children can have more privacy and concentrate better. This section here is essentially a fortress. It's built out of steel in accordance with all of the hurricane criteria. We have new staff rooms. We have new facility, new principal's office, new facilities for students and staff. The hard court has been resurfaced. The bathrooms have been redone. There's a little parking area. I mean, it is almost a brand new school, and we're really happy with the work of the contractor, Mr. Jack. We're very happy with the BNTF, and this is just one of the best primary schools in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And Minister of Education Curtis King said that he is happy with the work done on the school, adding that he is confident that staff, students and parents will be happy moving into the renovated building when school reopens.
There was a significant effort made to ensure that the building is given the sort of scope, if you like, for what is required for the students' education. And that is always important because we always have to build with the objective of providing the student with an environment that would be most beneficial to their learning. So the environment must always be one conducive for the teaching learning process, and I can see that that effort was made here. We have to also recognize that this school, like most in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is an evacuation center and an emergency center, if you like. And all of that would have been taken into consideration. If you notice, there is a tank that look like just over 500 gallons, perhaps around that, where you would have water in the event that there's no water from the public.
The assets of the strengthening farmers' organizations and improving fruit and vegetable production technology project were handed over today to the Ministry of Agriculture. The objectives of the project were to strengthen technical extension division in terms of operation technology and supplementary software and hardware equipment in the Ministry of Agriculture, establish target crop facilities or field cultivation models and regulations, establish targeted crops such as tomato, sweet pepper, carrot, watermelon, and pineapples in terms of facilities or field cultivation modules and regulations, and reinforce farmers' organizations' management system, establish administration, information, production, and marketing management system. The project, which cost $3,073,803, ran from January 2015 to December 2018. Speaking at the handing over ceremony, Minister of Agriculture Subota Caesar said a lot of farmers in the country and workers in his ministry have benefited from the project.
And the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, stakeholders within the agriculture sector, have benefited significantly over the years. It is our quest as a people, as a body politic, to ensure that issues touching and concerning food sovereignty, food safety, and food security are dealt with as matters of first importance. In our country, agriculture contributes significantly to the rural economy. And there are many persons who are not in this room today who would benefit on a daily basis because of the hard work of the Ministry of Agriculture and the assistance that we constantly receive from the government and people of the Republic of China and Taiwan.
Over the years, the Taiwan Technical Mission here in SVG assisted local farmers in growing and marketing crops and establishing farmers' organizations. And to further empower these organizations, the government requested the mission's assistance in developing production and distribution cooperatives. Minister Caesar said SVG has benefited from the generosity of Taiwan in a number of areas and will continue to work along with its government and people to reduce SVG's food import bill.
Whilst I must commend the hard work and diligence of our farmers, because 15 years ago, we were not exporting cattle to Grenada. 15 years ago, we could not boast of having 500 acres of cocoa. 15 years ago, we were not producing chocolate bars and exporting chocolate bars around the world from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 15 years ago, we were a major importer of honey. Now we are almost self-sufficient. 15 years ago, we did not have the type of fishing industry with over 5 fisheries centers operationalized in this country, exporting fish and fish products, not only to the region, but as far as Asia.
Taiwan's ambassador to SVG, His Excellency Calvin Ho, noted that farmers and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in general have benefited significantly from the project.
But I'm glad that today we can have this handover ceremony for these assets to your good government so that we can continue the future work in this regard. And we have long, right now it's actually, we have 40 years since we established our diplomatic ties. This is the 40th anniversary of our relations between our two countries. So it's a very important year. And I feel that I'm very honored that can be a part that make contribution together with my colleague.
In other news, the police have arrested and charged Colin Craig, a 56-year-old contractor of Upper Cane Hall, with the offense of wounding. The police say investigations reveal that the accused man allegedly wounded a 50-year-old farmer of the same address by striking him on the back of his head with a piece of board, causing actual bodily harm. The incident occurred at Upper Cane Hall about 9:10 p.m. on Saturday, March 20th. The police have also arrested and charged Turnley Francois, a 40-year-old baker of Layu, with the offense of wounding. The police say the accused man allegedly, unlawfully and maliciously wounded a 32-year-old contractor of Brighton by stabbing him on his upper chest with a piece of broken bottle. The incident occurred at Mesopotamia on December 13, 2020. Craig and Francois are expected to appear before the magistrate court.